Yeah, very.
They can't.
Welcome to the Keep the Faith podcast. I am your host, Tori, and today is very special. I have all men on the panel today. So you know what? I'm gonna call this dropped in my spirit. I'm gonna call this Man Cave Sunday.
Okay.
Man Cave Sunday.
Man Cave Sunday.
Now, Minister Rod, you've actually done this before. So I'm gonna have my two new guests introduce themselves. I'm gonna start with Khasim, and then I'm gonna go to Mr. Tom. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and whatever you want the world to know about yourself, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. Introduce yourself to the world.
All right, what's going on? It's your boy Cass from The One Podcast. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Khasim Burton. Originally, I'm from the Caribbean, a small island called Dominica. No, not Dominican Republic. Dominica, it's a whole different island. All people always think it's Dominican Republic, but just a little background on myself. I'm from the islands, been in the U.S. for next month will give me 12 years since I've been in the United States. It's something different. I love it. It was a change of lifestyle, culture shock. I do have a 5-year-old daughter who lives in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I currently reside in South Carolina, and I'm just happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Mr. Tom.
Why are you gonna send me behind that? All that energy he got. Hey, it's your boy Tom. No. My name is Tom Washington. I'm sorry I keep moving around. I got you on my phone. I ain't set up on my computer. I'm kind of bootleg that way. So that's a little bit about me, But I would say here in Florence, South Carolina, I'm originally from up north. I just say up north because you try to explain more than that. The Southerners just look at you with the eyes open. But that's another thing. What's going on, guys? I'm glad to be here. I had a great time yesterday with the men's fellowship, and I'm loving this that we're going to continue this because it's an open discussion for men that's very much needed.
Absolutely. And Minister Rod.
All right, this is Minister Rod from Strong Tower Ministries. But God is moving in the house. I'm feeding off of this energy because I'm excited for what God is going to do. I'm Minister Rod from Strong Tower. I'm also a musician. I'm married over 30 years, and my pastor is Pastor Kelsey Goodson and Angela Goodson. And I'm just excited about this podcast, and I'm just seeing what God is going to do. So let's get it.
Let's get it. Now, I wasn't there yesterday, but of course, had I known, I wanted to pop up, but I was like, it's for the men. So I wanted to I started to bring my son, give me an excuse, but I ended up going to the track yesterday morning. So I was like, let me let them have their thing because we had our brunch, which is what I think was called Pretty in Pink, and we had our time. So I just wanted to let them in because a lot of times the men need to come together and fellowship. Because a lot of times people think that men can't come together. Men need each other just like women need each other. You need to form a brotherhood. And I think it's a lot of times it's a lot easier for the men to form a brotherhood here because sometimes the women, they can be a little catty. So I love the brothers. And then of course you guys know we need more men in the church. That's anyway, true. So I just wanted to sit back and let you guys do it. But I ain't gonna lie, I want to peek my head in because I felt like I missed a whole lot. But the topic for today, the topic for today is the man in the mirror. Subtitle: Do you see who God wants you to see? And whoever wants to start talking, I'm gonna let y'all flow. And of course, it's live, so some comments gonna come in as you guys speak. So whoever wants to start, Minister Rod, whoever wants to start, we're gonna go from there. And I may ask you some questions here and there, or this may be a time for me to just, sometimes we as women got to sit back and be quiet and observe and take notes.
Well, I'm gonna let y'all go because I'm a talker.
Okay.
I'm give y'all a chance to get it in.
Okay. Who wants to start on the topic?
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and warm up the floor.
Okay.
A lot of times we think of that man in the mirror, like the Michael Jackson song. You know, he's it, and I want to do this verse to kind of give everybody a little something to kind of go on, because I listened to it and I was like, you know what, this makes sense because there's so much in that song, you know, but this part stuck out to me. And one of the verses it says, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message couldn't been clear if if they want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself then to make a change. So
that's a mouthful.
That's in our mantra at our church of Strong Tower. You know, you got to start first with yourself. You know, you can tell a person off the street, you know, what they got to do and blah, blah, blah. And you say all this, but you got to make the change in yourself first to see if you're ready to go out there and do what you got to do. And when you go out there, make sure that's the right lane that you're in when you go out there, because that's a beast out there. And you got to be ready to go out there and do what God wants you to do. That's why I said you got to look at yourself and see who you are seeing. Because a lot of times when I get up in the mirror, you know, I don't like what I see. And I look at it and I said, man, you know, what can I do today to change this image that I'm looking at? Because when you leave out the house, what you're looking at, you're going to portray to everybody out there. So when you leave the house, you need to put on or take off whatever that is, you know, what something that's going to get you going, not nothing that's going to be in a negative way to hinder somebody else, because your facial expression really can mess up your day and other people, you know, else's day.
That's true.
So, you know, be careful what you're trying to, you know, when you get up in the morning, you know, when you go to sleep at night, make sure you have those positive thoughts, something, you know, instrumental going back into your life to feed your spirit, so that, you know, God can enter your day and be with you throughout the whole day.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. For me, what I take from that is when you say you look at the man in the mirror, I look at the actions, right? When I look at the man in the mirror, I look at my actions. I look at what am I doing that I've, you know, created who I am today. But then you got to think about what you've been through, because what you've been through create who you are as well. How you think, how you look at people, how you look at life, right? So as of now, like I said, looking in the man in the mirror, I would say I'm a work in progress, just like I would say most of us are. I'm definitely a work in progress. I came a long way from living a life of sin. I've always been a man of God, always been a child of God. However, sometimes when you're in sin, it's hard to face that man in the mirror. You know, it's hard to get down on your knees and pray, knowing you know better and what you're doing is not better, you know? So I feel like me personally, I literally had to be humbled, because sometimes we get stuck in our ways and don't know how to actually do right by God. We know what we got to do, but at the same time, we don't do it. So what happened is sometimes we will feel like we just got to stay in it until grace and mercy runs out. Then we get humbled, a life check. And now you got to figure out what you're going to have to do. But then you got to think about what you was doing that got you there to begin with, right? So for me, there was a lot of stuff I used to do that I'm not proud of. But who I am today, I can definitely say I'm happy of who I am right now and who I'm seeing I'm going to be. You know, again, I did have a podcast, but the podcast, the mission for the podcast was everybody got a story to tell, right? Because I feel like I got a story to tell. And if your story can change one life, then it was worth it. That's how I look at it. But sometime again, coming back, you have to look at the man in the mirror and be like, okay, well, what do people see when they see me? You know, who do they see? Is that the person that you want them to see? Because sometimes we get on the camera and we show them somebody we feel like we might want them to see, but that's not who we are. You know, so yeah, like I said, I'm just a work in progress as far as like how far I've been, how far I've came. everything I've been through, I definitely know that there's a God. And like I said, my purpose, I feel personally, is to let a lot of people know, let everybody know that God is real. It's not about a if, it's not a but, it's not a maybe. He is real. And just to piggyback on what you said, when you put in the work, you don't have to go based on what somebody else said, because you know
Thank
you
you.
put in the work. You see the result for a fact. So when you speak, it ain't no if but so maybe. I'm telling you what it is, and this is what it is. You know, it's black and white. You know, but again, like I said, we just gotta be aware. You know, we gotta be aware and just ask for understanding, because certain things happen in our life that we don't know why certain things happen. You know, but we might not know why, but subconsciously we know why, because our actions is what is the reason why certain things happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So absolutely, I'm with you on that. Like I said, once you put in the work, you have the faith and affirmation, confirmation that you know God is real. I mean, like I said, we just here to spread the word. Me coming into Strong Tower was me getting back closer to God. You know, it's one thing you can get on your knees and pray, but when you're around the same people with the same mindset, then it's different.
Don't forsake the assembly.
Exactly. You want to go somewhere fast, go alone, but you want to go far, go together.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
You know, so just like you were saying, as us as men, not only just man in period, but black man, we don't come together because we always in a competition with ourselves.
Yeah.
Trying to see who's better. And there's a saying, everybody want to see you do good until you start doing better than them. They don't want to see you do good at all.
Right.
About that
You know, so that's why I say it's very important. Yeah, it's very important that we come together. And like I said, church for me is one thing, but like I say, it's just like it's a lifestyle. You know, it's a gradual lifestyle that I'm personally taking day by day. I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. But like I said, I'm just trying to be the man of God that God wants me to be, which is share his word and share his message, let people know that he is real. And that's it. You know, we are all vessels at the end of the day. That's how I look at it.
But to piggyback off what Rod was saying, one of the things I always believed in was I don't share my misery with everybody. What I mean by that is I give everybody a smile purposely because they have nothing to do with what's going on with me. Why ruin your day because I'm having a bad day?
True.
Well, why put what's going on with me off on you? So like I believe work life stay at work and home life stay at home, and you spread God's word everywhere you go. So I'm always they're like, why are you always joyful? I'm joyful because I have the Lord in my heart, and that has nothing to do with the trouble that's going on in my home. The joy in my heart has nothing to do with the trouble going on in my home. It's still trouble in the house, and more than likely I probably caused it, but that's a whole nother thing. But that has nothing to do with people at work, because the lady at work ain't had nothing to do with me and my wife fighting. So why should I be mad at her?
True.
Well, why should I ruin her day? Who might be happy? Then, believe it or not, to me that's like a spirit. It'll jump off you and onto somebody else. Now that lady might go home and arguing with her husband, all because I couldn't get it off of me and I carried it with me. So that's why it's important for me when I get up, I have to pray first before I start my day and look in the mirror. So I know I'm happy with that person because I prayed and I prayed whatever I might have dreamt or bad stuff might happen. I pray it off me before I even go out in this world, because you need that protection anyway. But
now let's stop right there, right? You say you wake up in the morning and you do what?
I pray.
Okay. Now that's something I do now, but that's not something I used to do, right?
Oh,
I went years.
That's new.
I went years. I'm talking about years. I'm probably since I've been in the US, since I started coming to church at Strong Tower. The previous time I've been at church, I would say probably at least 6-7 years. No exaggeration. That don't mean I never prayed. That don't mean I don't know God. It's just that I never went to church, right? So it's very important to actually, like you said, pray and get in that relationship with God. But not only pray because for me, I will only pray when things hit the fan, when everything goes bad. Well, he don't try to get my attention so many times. Well, all right, God, all right, I hear you, I hear you. You know, when things go bad, that's when I would pray. But I would never really pray on a regular basis, like wake up and pray. You know, but I had to understand that, you know, then I knew of God, I didn't know God, right? So, which means, for example, someone might say, well, I know Deacon Rod, you know, he goes to our church, Strong Tower. But do you know Deacon Rod? Do you have conversations with Deacon Rod? The only way you're gonna know somebody is to talk to them, ask them questions, and them telling you back from their mouth, their source. So now you can say, yes, I know Deacon Rod. You understand what I'm saying? If somebody came and said something about Deacon Rod, you're probably gonna believe him because you don't know him. But if you know Deacon Rod, you're gonna be like, nah, that ain't Deacon Rod. I know Deacon Rod. He's not that type of person, or whatever the case is. So my thing is this: a lot of us say we pray, a lot of us say we know God, but do we really know God, or do we know of God? Do you have conversation with him like how we're having a conversation right now? How often do you talk to God? Because if I talk to you once every 6 months, when things go bad, how can I say I know you? I don't know you, Deacon Rod. I don't know you, Mr. Tom. I don't know you, Tor.
That's a fair weather friend.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? So at the end of the day, what praying every single day is, what that does is allows you to get to know God, not just know of him. You understand? Because now you're building that relationship with him, right? When he speaks back to you, you get the understanding of what he's trying to tell you. Now you can say, you know, God. So if somebody come next to you,
I'm so hard-headed. I don't listen too well.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm still hard-headed. I don't listen that well. I still gotta get. Look, I was told a long time ago to stand on the rock and not let the rock stand on you because it'll crush you. Yeah, I get a lot of crushing.
Trust me. I have to get a lot of fear crushing myself, man. Like I said, but again, it's life lessons. Though. If you don't pay attention to those crushing, I understand why you getting crushed. Then you will never learn, and then you would feel like, why is this everything is in a circle, keep happening over and over and over, and that's what was happening to me. I kept having to restart all over from scratch, but I had to tell myself, well, how many times are you gonna start over? You know, how many times you're going to start from scratch before you actually get it right? You know, yeah, I know of God. Yeah, you pray, but do you really know God? You know, because when stuff go bad, sometimes, you know, I complain, I whine, and I fuss, I ask questions. But do you know God? If you know God, you shouldn't have to ask questions. You should know that everything that's happening for you right now, that's happening to you right now, is for your benefit. Because that's how God works, especially with his children. Especially with his children. Trust me, there's nothing you're going through right now that is not going to work out for your benefit. Nothing at all that you're going through right now that is not going to work out for your benefit. If you're a child of God and you know God for a fact, because as a man thinketh, so easy. So if you think it's not going to get better, how can it get better? You understand? If you think
mindset, yeah,
it's a mindset. As a man thinketh, so easy. You got to think it first, then speak it, and then it's out there. Then you know, God gonna do his thing, but we gotta do our part too.
That's right.
You know, it's coming back to how it's saying, you know, do you know God? But you know, if you're calling somebody every 6 months and every time you call them you need something, how can you be mad if you call them 6 months from now and they ain't give you what you need?
I look at the call ID, ain't picking up.
There you go, because you need some. Look. You have that one family member. When you call your phone, you know, he needs some. I ain't even gonna answer.
You already know.
Because that's the only time you hear from them. Yeah. Right? So I feel like, and that sometimes allow people to lose faith because now they feel like they're praying to God, God not answering them. But how long do you been talking to him? Do you have that relationship with him?
How long have you been
listening?
He's always talking to us. We gotta learn how to be quiet sometimes. He whispers. He whispers on purpose because he wants his to be the only voice you listen to. So he makes sure you be quiet and listen. Because he can yell if he wants to, but he decides not to. Because how you gonna listen to him if I'm just yelling at you all the time? True. So if I be quiet and talk quiet to you, you slow down. You be patient. You be quiet, and you take the time and you listen. And then you'll understand what he's saying to you. And,
that's true. Because like you said, just to piggyback on what you said, if I talk low, what y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna say, huh? What you
There
say?
you go. Get a little closer.
Did you
Get a
say
little
something?
closer.
Hold on. If I say yeah, I want to go out later on tonight. You're gonna say what happened? What you say? Because just like you said, so when he talks quiet to you, it allows you to listen even more. So that makes a lot of sense.
That's good. I like that.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
Let me throw a question out there too.
All right. I
As
catch
we
it.
look, when we looking in that mirror, are we seeing a little boy? Or are we seeing a man? Because I've heard that a lot. You know, a lot of stuff happened to me in my childhood. So are we reliving that thing, you know, that we did in our childhood? Okay, here's my transparency. When I was a kid, I had an imaginary friend.
Gotcha.
Okay, every time I do something, I blame it on that imaginary friend. And I say, I didn't do it, you know, he did it. Which, you know, that was trying to shoot the blame, you know, how we do shoot the blame.
Right.
So a lot of times we look in that mirror and we say, well, I'm a man, but yet and still we looking at the same little boy.
Because you know what they say though? I know it's just to piggyback again on what you said, that you know, trauma, number one, right? They said that whatever age you had a traumatic situation, if you are not healed from that traumatic situation mentally, you're still that age.
Wow.
So let me tell. I'm gonna piggyback. I'm gonna use me as an example. When I was 15 years old, I got paralyzed overnight. Doctors couldn't find out what happened. You know, I got misdiagnosed twice. Literally, I was walking one day fine, and the next day I woke up and couldn't stand up. Right? I'm talking about I'm an athlete, very athletic, playing soccer. We call it football. Y'all call it soccer. Playing basketball, swimming. I was very, very, very active. So we're talking about a child going from being active. It's like Whitney Houston losing her voice overnight and nobody has no question, no answers for her, right? I was 15. That's a very traumatic situation. I died in the ICU. I heard God's voice. That's how I know God is real. God is, you know, people think that when you die, that's it. It's not just, that's not it. There's a whole nother process after death. You understand? There's a whole nother process after death. And I'm telling you, there's nothing there. There's no one there but you and God. There's no one there. There's no trees, no buildings, no land, no nothing but gray and gray clouds like it's about to rain, and you and God. That's death, right? You can look around. It's your conscience. You can talk. You can hear yourself talk, but it's just you and God. No one else. People be like, I'm gonna go see my grandma on the other side. I know your grandma ain't there. She's just there right now until God come back and everybody is judged. Until then, they're just there with them and God. And until then, for me, like I said, I was 15 when that happened. So emotionally, I was very angry at the world, angry. I was just angry because I'm like, why this happened to me? You know, I can think of 100 people this could happen to who are living the life that, you know, they deserve a punishment, something like that. Why me? You know, so for that, I always to be angry, you know, and that anger, whenever I get mad today, sometimes I still get angry like that 15-year-old boy.
Wow.
Who is just lashing out, saying what he wants, hurting people with his words, and not caring exactly how I used to be when I was 15 years old. I literally had to, how can I put it? Like, you know, it's a journey of finding yourself again to get rid of that trauma.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't be stuck your whole life. And there's a lot of grown-ups who act like kids and don't know why, because trauma. They never was healed from that trauma. So every single time they react just like how they would at that age, that traumatic situation happened.
Wow.
Well, I kind of look at it and do it like this. My analogy always, I'm kind of like Pastor Kelsey. I do a lot of stories to explain. Well, I believe in understanding, and if you get understanding in things, you can always, you know, help someone else.
True.
Always, my analogy is always the rearview mirror. why is the rear view mirror so small? Because you're not supposed to be looking in it in the first place. That's number one. And because your future is huge and always greater. That's why the front view is always so large. And if you look in the rear view mirror, you got to concentrate. Put all your concentration and attention in it, and you miss what's in front of you. Because you got to put all your concentration in that little rear view mirror. And as long as you look in that rear view mirror, you'll never be able to go forward. And you're always in intention. You're always going to wind up crashing. And I say that to say, I try to leave stuff in the past. It takes years to grow past. It takes years to grow past a lot of hurt. But the first part is acknowledging that I was hurt and someone hurt me. And it's okay because I'm still here.
True.
And that's the first part of it. That's the easy part, acknowledging it. But forgiving yourself for even letting it derail you, because we all sit there still living the past and saying, I should have did so-and-so. They been did this. You're still looking in the rearview mirror. You can't do anything about anything that already happened to you. It already happened. It's gone.
That's true. And that's another thing for me. I would not let that go. I was still, always like, I can literally to this day, I can walk you through the whole day because it's just so vivid in my mind and it's still there. But like you said, I do have to learn how to let that go. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful I can still maneuver. There's a lot of things I'm still thankful for. I'm doing this. People out here with no legs, no arms, literally. And, they're happy. So it's like, for me, I have no reason to be unhappy when I have life. I feel like God gave me a second chance for a reason. Even if at that time at 15, I didn't understand the reason, but now I know the reason is to let people know that he's real. He is real. And it's not about, if you don't believe in God, it's not about I respect it or I do not respect it. All I can say is I feel sorry for you. Because when you die, because we all gotta die, ain't no if, but, some maybe on that one. Yes. It's when.
When.
It's not if you die, when you die, because we all gotta die. When you die, and you hear that voice crack into the sky like thunder, by that time, it will be too late to believe.
Come on. Man, hey, check this out now. Now, I like what you said. That's powerful. But let me jump on this thing. All of us are married on here, except Sister Tori. Tori, it's gonna happen.
I'm sorry, Sister Tori.
It's gonna happen, guys.
It's all right. I'm listening. I'm taking it all in.
It's the man show anyway, so it's the man show anyway. So she yeah. Go ahead.
We love you, sis. But I think since all of us are married, we on that subject of the man in the mirror. And let's reach out there and pull somebody in off of this. I know if you're married, sometimes, your wife be wondering, well, why is he acting like this? Why is things going on? Perhaps we tend to fall back, like you said, in that trauma period. And now we're reacting because now we done hit something in our past. Now we got to bring that to the future because we got to protect that time that we were in. Now we got to lash back out. And then sometimes I believe our marriages tend to get a little rocky, because we look at that and say, man, now I got to protect that because now I got to lash out because you don't hit something.
I wanted to, sorry, because a lot of my arguments that always wound up happening between me and my wife was she started saying something like somebody who did something to me or something that happened that she ain't nothing to do with, but it sounds just like it. So it got to be the same thing. Yep. You treated me like that person treated me. You did this to me like that person did me. It's your fault. It's you this. And I got to the point where I thought she was the problem. I just don't give her. She just a problem. And I don't care what you say. My wife is a problem. Ain't nothing I did. It's all her. She's just a mean old lady.
and
I had to self-reflect. I had to look in the mirror, self-reflect, and understand. Had to get the plank out of my eye while I was talking about this, the little prick that's in hers, because to actually recognize that was that recognize I have a problem. And the problem was I can let go of my past. I let go of my past hurt. I never grew up into the man I was supposed to be. The question was asked at the meeting was like, when did you become a man? And I was shocked. I told a couple of people I didn't become a man until 3 years ago. They're like, well, you 53. What you mean 3 years ago? Well, 3 years ago, my son went in the hospital. And that's why I learned I'm not in control of none of this. I really have to give everything up to God. That means everything. Because, we give some things up to God, but not everything. Because some things we still control. I still got, God, you handle that. I got this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That ain't happening. I had to really let everything go of who I thought I was and who I thought I was betraying and all these people that I thought I was, and really become who he wanted me to be. I really had to pray and let him really take over me.
For me, go ahead. I'm sorry, got you.
Yeah, and that was it. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say for me, shit, I ain't want to let it go, right? I ain't want to let it go, but look, he said, oh, you don't want to let it go? I'm gonna make you lose it all. I'm gonna make you lose it all. And again, like I said, it's something about hitting rock bottom that you ain't got no choice but to go to God, right? When all the odds are against you, you have no choice but to be positive. Can you imagine all the odds are against you and you're negative?
Oh, man.
All the odds are against you and you're still thinking it ain't gonna work. You ain't got no choice but to. So God is gonna put you in a position not only to get your attention, but to get your faith back, right? To the point where, you know what? At this point, God, Jesus, take the wheel. Because at this point, I don't did everything I can. I don't did everything I could. Lord, I listen, just take the wheel, right? And that's how God gets our attention sometimes. Because I'm very hard at it. I'm stuck in my ways. And me personally, I shouldn't be proud of it, but I love money. Don't get me wrong, I love money. And I'm trying to find a way not to allow my love for money take over, because sometimes when I get focused on getting money, I'm just focused on getting money. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I feel like God knew if I had a lot of money, I probably would have forgot about him.
Mm-hmm.
So he keeps us at a certain level because he know if we had too much, well, you don't forget about me. So I can't let you have too much. Now I gotta bring it back down to earth. So now you can get back on your knees to come back to me. Let you know who's in charge here, right? So I had to understand that, because when you're going through it, you don't understand that. You just feel like, man, I'm going through it. All the odds are against me right now. What can't go right? Murphy law or Murphy at work. If anything could go wrong, gonna go wrong. Murphy gonna be at work. When it's going bad, oh yeah, he's at work, right? Again, it's God getting our attention. God getting our attention because we will. I'll put it like this, right? Oh man, this is powerful. Hold on. I'll put it like this. This is how God gets our attention. Why should he have to get our attention? You see, if we got a relationship with God and we're talking to him every single day, he shouldn't have to get our attention.
Oh.
If we're talking to him every day, he shouldn't have to get our attention because he already got it.
He ain't got holla out Khasim.
First thing Khasim gonna do when you wake up is what? Talk to him. All right, I ain't gotta do nothing. I already know it's coming. Listen. Yeah. If you got a relationship with God, he shouldn't have to get your attention. And for me, I know of God again, but I didn't know God.
Right.
Because God was still trying to get my attention. And like I said, once you got that relationship with God, why my wife gotta try to get my attention when she's my wife? Why should she have to try to get my attention? She my wife. We married. We talk every day. I call her on my lunch, on my 15-minute break, every single day. Why should she have to try to get my attention? She already got it.
Oh,
yeah.
You understand? So it's the same thing. Your best friend don't have to try to get your attention. Your spouse don't have to try to get your attention because you got that relationship with them. People only seek for attention when there is none.
Yeah.
When there is none. So when if God's seeing that he don't have your attention, or he gonna get your attention one way or the other.
One way or the other.
One way or the other. You ain't gonna like
it that way. I learned you don't want it that way. Yeah.
You definitely don't want it that way.
I'd rather initiate it instead of him initiating it. It ain't always, you don't wind up being good for you.
Now he got my attention. He got my attention when the doctor came and told me that you're diabetic. Now and now this is what you're gonna have to do to stay alive. Yeah. And when she told me that, it was like a rock hit me, and I was like, man, I'm eating what I want, how I want it, but now I've got to change my whole lifestyle to live. So when she told me that, then God, you got all my attention. I'm done. You know, and you know, I love the pork now. Definitely, I love the pork, but you know, I have to do it in moderation now because. Yeah. And I want to give this quick testimony. You know, when I put everything on the altar, you know, and I went through my process, probably about a year of the pills, the shot, and all the whole 9 yards and all that. I put it on the altar and I said, I'm done. All of the pills, all of this. I told my doctor, I said, when am I gonna come off this stuff? She said, well, you got to stay on it a little while longer. Kevin kept giving me medicine, but this is what I did. I made up in my mind, my body is healed in Jesus' name. I stopped taking the shots, the pills, everything. Kept going to my appointments, and she said, "Oh, you're doing good, but we got to get you to another level. So I'm gonna get you some more medicine." So she gave me more medicine. I'm sitting to the side, pleading the blood of Jesus. All my levels are staying the same. Wow. You know, of course, I ate right. You know, did my best to try to exercise and do all that, but at the same time, my faith was in God, and I confessed it out of my mouth. I'm healed. There's power in our tongues.
Fact. So it was a confession in the walk
every day. There it is. And I put it on the altar, and I was done. And I admonish you, if you got any issue, I don't care what it is, you put it on the altar and leave it there. But make sure when you put it on the altar, you leave it there. Don't go back and, like Tom said, look in that rearview mirror. And then, you think about that traumatic experience. Now I got to go back, and now that thing come on you double. But when you put it there, you leave it there. And when that doctor told me, she said, well, you can come off everything now. All your levels are good. You can just maintain your good diet like you're doing, and you're going to be all right. Little did she know I had come off it a year before that.
Yeah. And what you did was
God had did it.
You believed and walked it. You believed and you walked it out. You did the exercise. You changed the way you ate. You believed it, but you still had to do the work.
Right. I did the work. It was not easy, but I knew at the end result, I was coming off that medicine, and it was worth it, because like you said, God will get your attention one way or the other. And he had mine, and I was like done, because I went into the routine of I prayed, God, good morning, this and that, but just a routine of it. But when I got that uppercut, like when we played the game, you hit left, right, boom, uppercut, boom, and all this kind of different stuff, and boom. But that's gaming, that's another thing. But
you're not too old for them, right?
Yeah, I'm a little too old for that every now and then. But when I got that hit, and I was sitting on that table, and the doctor left out, I just looked up and said, God, you got my attention. I'm done. I'm done. I put my hands up. When you put your hands up, you surrender.
That's it.
I surrendered to God. I said, I am done. So when I got done, he healed my body, and I'm not on none of that now. Only thing I take is vitamins. And I urge people, take it to God, because He gonna get your attention.
He definitely gonna get your attention, especially when you know better.
Yes.
Especially when you know better. That's one thing. If you ain't know, all right, you didn't know. But when you know better and you don't do better, that's when it's 10 times harder. Then He gonna make you feel it.
Oh,
He gonna make you feel it.
bro.
And that's what I've learned over the my experiences with God. But through it all, He ain't never let me down.
Never
Let me down. Always came through. Literally right on time. It couldn't be no more perfect. Every single time, God has never let me down.
Never let me down. Come on.
I've been on my own since I was 18, living out in hotels, grinding out, but I never slept on the street that one time. All praise to God.
All praise to God.
All praise to God. Some people ask me, how you do it, man? You wasn't crutches. I was homeless, but I wasn't homeless on the road. In my mind, I was in a hotel, so I wasn't thinking I was homeless, right? Because I'm living in the hotel. Yeah. But if I ain't got money for the hotel, where I'm gonna go? You homeless. Don't think because you're in a hotel, you're not homeless, bro. You don't have a home. You homeless.
So you got no address.
I had to literally check myself, like, yeah, it's cool right now, but this is what it is. You're homeless. You gotta start over. You gotta start from scratch. And like I say, how many times God gotta get your attention before you actually listen? Ooh. Because like I say, we be having grace and mercy, but grace and mercy do run out.
Come on.
Yeah.
Grace and mercy do run out. Let me tell you that. Last year, I could have lost my life. I'm not gonna go into the situation because it's a little bit, but just know grace and mercy got me through. And I had to learn from that. Even the people I've done business with, that some in here, some is. A friend of mine a close friend of mine who, business partner, he got shot 22 times.
Wow.
22 times and still here today. That happened like late last year. Wow. Imagine that. 22 times. They nothing but grace and mercy. Nothing but grace and mercy, because it only takes one. It only takes one. So imagine that. But like I say, God definitely, I'm gonna come right back. I'm gonna touch on the marriage and how marriage changed my life. I'll be right back, y'all. Literally, give me 2 minutes.
Okay.
Let's see, I'm gonna do this.
What I want to ask you guys, because I was taking it all in, observing everything that you guys saying.
Yeah.
What is something that made you, what is one thing that may have happened in your life that made you take an assessment of yourself and made you realize that you had to look at the man in the mirror? What is one thing or a couple of things that made you take an assessment of yourself and make you realize I got to look at the man in the mirror? Because it does start with me.
Two things happened for me. Well, one of them was when I was about to lose my wife. That really changed a big thought process in my mind about, because at the time I was, like I said, it was all her fault. So she can go on step. Okay. And I realized, I think I'm going to kind of miss her.
Yeah.
So I had to really think about, like, was this argument or whatever was going on worth it? Was all the things going on around it worth it? Did God put this? If God puts us together, that means even I can't be the one that break this up. I see what she said. I ain't paying no mind. I see how she do.
I'm finna get one too.
That even when it says, let no man, break this union, that's including you.
Yes.
That's you too. You ain't supposed to be the one to break it also. And I had to really look at what I was doing and what I was providing. And like Elder Mike was saying, it was hard understanding. I had to learn her love language. I had to learn how she speaks and what she wanted and what she was saying, because we don't talk the same. I'm from the streets and she's a Southern belle. Don't mix. So the language was so far apart that we were clashing, and the things that normally would work for anyone else doesn't work for her. So I really had to learn and dig into myself and really, like, hey, God, I can't do this without you. And you told me this is my boo. What you doing? And he looked at me and said, what you doing? So that's when I really had to come to myself and really understand that it really was me, and I wasn't putting the proper effort and time and due diligence in. Hope that answered what you was asking.
Okay, for me, mine is similar like Tom's. Me and my wife had a time where we were separated, and I had to come to grips and realize, what is going on. I hit a period in my life where I was trying to figure out, what is happening. I said, God, I come from a family that, I have I had a mother, father, my daddy was a deacon, my mother was a minister. And I'm trying to figure out, hey, I thought I had some good genes. What is going on? Why am I getting to the point where me and my wife is finna just throw everything away? So I had to really look at, what is going on? What's the cause? Who is the cause? And when I came to that point to look in the mirror and say, okay, all right, what's going on? I realized the enemy had a foothold. That's all the enemy wants, is just to get his little toe in, and then he'll work from there. Mm-hmm. And I had to, go and do some restructure in my life to get a lot of situations straightened out. And when I say God brought that thing back together and made us who we are today, and we've been married over 30 years, and we haven't arrived. We have not arrived. We're working on that, and I'm learning, just like you said, Tom, that love language. That is something that I really have to understand and realize, because that love that people talk about, I had two parents in my life, but my dad didn't tell me every day he loved me. Yeah. He told me, be tough, you don't cry, you handle business, just like that. And his form of showing me of love was, hey, I'm gonna show you a value, then I'll get you this. He said, and you work hard, you can get this.
He told you stay with your chest.
That's right. You don't cry. You don't cry. You don't show no emotion like that. And I'm gonna get off and give Akeem some time. But my wife told me this, and this kind of woke me up and kind of shook me. She said, I've never seen you cry. In over 30 years, I've never seen you cry, other than, when I lost my parents like that. But any other time, none of that. No crying, no type of emotions. I'm a practical joker, Tom. I'm always joking. Never cried, other than, for a funeral, something like that. Other than that, tough. No sign of weakness. Don't show that. And I was like, so is that a sign of weakness? Back in the day, I thought that was a sign of weakness. You cry, that's your soft side.
Yeah, that was preached to us. Yeah,
right. But now, whole different atmosphere. My elder cry, I'll cry with him. If something touched my heart, God touching my heart on something, I will cry. I don't care what nobody say.
Yeah, y'all a bunch of waterheads. Yeah.
Hey, I'm finna let it roll, because that does not say I am weak. All that says is I'm a man, and that's a part of me that you have hit. That's saying I feel what you're saying.
But crying is good sometimes, though. When you get done crying, you really feel like you feel cleansed. You feel relieved. You got it out. And a lot of times, again, when a lot of anger comes from not crying.
Yes.
True.
A lot of anger is just situation where you should have cried, that you didn't cry, but it's just built up and it's right there, and then boom, you explode over something so little, but it really ain't the little thing. It's built up over the years that allow you to get angry. But maybe if you had just cry out some a little bit, maybe your cup will went down a little bit more and a little bit more. But all of us want to be so tough that we don't want to cry and hold it in. Then we become a grenade.
Yeah, push it down. You wasn't taking it in and push it down.
That's it.
Take it in, push it down.
Yeah.
Push it down.
That's it.
Push it down.
And then it becomes like a weed. It becomes like a weed growing underground the whole time. And weeds, you never know where they're gonna pop up at.
That's true. And they're gonna keep growing.
Anger is like a weed that's sitting underground waiting to pop up.
That's right. Hey, Tom, I think of it as, you know how they crush them canisters and you get all the air out. So now you got all of this compressed down here like this, and when you put air back in it, what's gonna happen? And now you done blowed off on somebody that don't deserve what you.
And 9 times out of 10 is the person right next to you.
Yep.
See that? Come on with it.
9 times out of 10 is the person right next to you. I still do the same
all that heat.
times. Still learning how not to really take my anger off, because I'm not really angry at her. I'm just angry in general. But she do something to make me mad, and I'm gonna take it out on her because she don't deserve that.
No.
But it comes back again to the same trauma, because that's exactly how that 15-year-old boy would react.
Right.
That's exactly how the 15-year-old. Oh, I'm gonna tell you how I feel and not care how you feel.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna let you know how I feel and forget your feelings. Right. That's a child reaction versus a man's reaction.
Come on.
A man doesn't make an emotional reaction. He makes a educational, patient reaction.
Right.
Children make emotional decisions.
That's good, Tommy. You sound like a real professor then.
I try, sir. I try.
And Khasim, I asked the question when you left. My question was, at what point, what was one thing or situation that at one point made you realize that you had to look in the mirror and take an assessment of yourself?
Look in the mirror and taking an assessment for myself. When I lost my whole team. So I had my whole team when I literally started my podcast. You know, I had my producer, you know, my cuz, like, you know, I literally had a team, you know, like one people handling the camera, one people handling the audio, you know, I'm the host, and we got artists. And one by one, I started losing, you know, disagreements. And I'm like, man, like, what's going on? Like, I had to really ask myself, is it me? It gotta be me. You know, it gotta be me. You know, I literally had to sit down and ask myself, you know, what is it? But then every situation that went bad, it was that same 15-year-old boy fussing or cussing at somebody, you know, because he's angry. So once I lost my whole team, literally everybody, that's when I realized, like, okay, it's not them, it's me. Because I always think that if somebody got a problem, it's me, it's not me, it's them. Right? Because we always think we can't do nothing wrong. Everybody like us. If somebody don't like me, it's them. It ain't me. But really, sometimes in reality, if everybody got a problem with you, sometimes you gotta ask yourself, maybe it is you. I don't care what it is, what you've been through. Maybe it is you.
Because you're the only one that's added that's still in that equation.
Exactly. Everybody gone but you. So it's like, you know, maybe I do have a problem. Maybe I do have to watch how I talk to people. Maybe I do have to watch how I react when I'm angry. You know, so that I would say losing my team was definitely one of the time frame I had to really look at myself and start to make some changes. You know, that was prior to my wife. Once I met my wife, you know, I had to take it up another notch, you know, and literally try to leave that 15-year-old boy in the closet locked away and become the man that God wanted me to be, which I'm still a work in progress. But again, just like I said, man, just life experience is gonna allow you to make you look yourself in the mirror. Real life experience, humbling experience is gonna make you look yourself and ask yourself this question, like, what did I do wrong? Or how can I be a better person in general? You know, because I don't want to be this person that every time, you know, people come around and I'm mad, I mess up their whole, because, you know, a smile is contagious, but attitude is contagious as well.
Oh, good.
You know, a smile, you smiling, yeah, everybody gonna smile too. But if you're coming for attitude, they're gonna feed you that same energy. If somebody come around me with an attitude, guess what? Instantly, I'm gonna match your energy. Like, I don't know what's wrong,
sir.
But I'm with you. Whatever, we can go up, whichever way you want to go. However you want to take it, we can go. You know, I'm gonna match your energy, you know, so that is contagious. I had to understand vice versa. The same thing for me. If I got an attitude, if I'm treating people, talking to people the way that I would not want to be talked to, you know, no matter your status, no matter how much money you have, you should never talk to certain people in a certain way or talk to people in a certain way because you feel like you can. You know, so we do things because we feel like we can. Or I can talk to my wife anyway because she's my wife. I can. You know, I can do this, I can do that because I can. You know, this person worked for me, so I feel like I can tell them what to do and talk to them how they want until they leave. Then you realize, like, hold on, who are you going to talk to now? You can't talk to anybody now. You got to talk to yourself. Look at the man in the mirror and do some thinking and talking. Hey, and if you're smart enough, you'll get on your knees and go in that room and pray too after you get done looking in the mirror. So.
Wow, that's really good. And because then what would you say? Well, before you went on to break as well, you said you wanted to say something about your marriage or how it changed your life. I don't know what your full thought was, but what was you going to say about that?
Oh, thank you for bringing me back to that. What I was going to say on that, like personally, like I explained to y'all, I always knew God. You know, I grew up in a family, you know, my mom always sent me to church. We always went to church. And the Sundays, she ain't go to church. Didn't mean she wasn't going to send me. So sometimes I know she went out on Saturday, she partied. She don't feel like going to church that Sunday. I'm like, well, maybe I ain't got to go to church. I'm good. Like, no, go get dressed. You going to church anyway. So I always knew God, right? You know, so I always knew the power of God. But again, once I get into being an adult, once I get into the worldly things, it kept me a little bit astray, right? Mm-hmm. What meeting my wife did, and not just meeting a wife or my wife, but meeting a woman of God. That's the difference.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's the difference. It's the difference meeting somebody, it's the difference meeting a woman and you actually meet a woman of God, right? That's actually serious, not just going to church just to go to church because hey, they go into church and they can say they go to church. No, but actually put it in the work. Put it in the, you know, the grind, the effort. It's not easy, but I see the work. And you know, she have a testimony. She has her own story. Mm-hmm. But what that did was it really got me closer to God because she was closer to God. You know, like Pastor said today, you know, if you prophetess put the biscuits,
yeah,
touch each other. So if one don't rise and the other rise, it's gonna rise with it.
Right.
Yeah. That's what it's about. Me and my wife are those biscuits in the oven. So when she rises and I don't feel like rising, guess what? I'm gonna rise with her.
Come on now.
So that's how I felt. I felt like she was that biscuit that was rising. I had everything in me to rise, right? Just like her, but I wasn't rising. But because I was touching and close enough to her, guess what? I rose with her too.
Yeah. Come on, you preaching now.
Yeah.
Come on.
I feel like at the end of the day, personally, you know, it's important to have a wife because one thing that I was doing and not thinking it was a sin or anything was fornicating, right? Mm-hmm. And if anybody out here who don't know what fornication is, it's pretty much sex before marriage, in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. Some people go their whole life fornicating, not realizing that's a sin. And this generation make it cool. It's okay to fornicate and look down on marriage, which is the opposite, right?
Exactly.
So when I was in my life, you know, living the way I used to live, you know, fornication to me was nothing because I'm gonna meet this chick, I like her, you know, it is what it is, we vibing and, you know, boom, that's it. But that's a sin. A lot of things I was doing, not consciously knowing, but subconsciously doing out of sin. So we got to ask ourselves, once I met my wife, it opened up my eyes because she wasn't with it. You know, she wasn't with it. Don't get me wrong. She's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Not saying we did it the perfect way. However, it was the eye opening, like, okay, that's one thing I got to work on. Right. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing she always says, I go to church every Sunday, I go to Bible study every Wednesday. Right. Mm-hmm. Boom. Those were in the terms and conditions. I already knew once I signed the agreement.
Yeah.
Those are listen, and everything you do, if you go ahead and place an order right now for a new phone, you got to sign the terms and conditions. I'm sorry.
Come on,
if you go ahead and place an order in for anything right now, you got to sign the terms and conditions, knowing, hey, if you get this product and it broke, it ain't my problem. You know, I'm gonna let you know whatever the terms and conditions are, you gotta sign them. So those are some of the things that, you know, I knew what I was getting into, but at the same time, I know it was gonna benefit me because ain't nothing wrong. Ain't no such thing as too much God. I need to get closer to God anyway. So that was God using her to get in my life to bring me back to Him. Or He used what I love. I love money and I love women. Guess what? Hey, I'm being real. I'm being real. He gonna use what you love to get to you. I love women. My wife is beautiful, thank God. But you know, she a godly woman. But He used her to get to me because He knew I'm gonna get your attention to that one. Oh, you like that, huh? But you think that's what it is. It ain't. That's something totally different for you. Go ahead. You'll see.
I know.
You'll see.
And
what I realized
for me, you
like,
know, he knew what I like too.
There you go. And so,
Amen.
Go ahead.
Because me and my wife were really totally opposites. We the same, but we so different. Like my wife is sillier than most people think she is because she seems real serious. Yeah, I'm telling on you. You can stop me all you want to. I'm telling my wife is sillier than most people think she is because everyone thinks she's real serious because she's a business type. She's been in business and a manager for such a long time. She has that handle, and most people she gives that energy off. But man, she's sillier than me. But that's a whole nother thing. But but we're so totally opposites as in how we grew up. We have the same beliefs, but they're so different because of how our family raised us, and how you don't realize it until you're in the middle of it, and like you realize that's a whole another person that ain't you, and that and everything you do ain't right. Because I used to pick a lot of women that kind of worship me, and everything. I hang on every word I said. Yeah, my wife don't do that. She's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. We're gonna Google that. But like I said, he will bring what you like, but bring what you need also in the same package. And he knew I needed somebody I couldn't run over, charm stuff out of him. I'd be trying to charm. She'd be like, yeah, whatever. So it's like I needed that because without that, I know I wouldn't be with God. I know I wouldn't be where I'm at right now because I know who and how I was, and I was that guy. I was that lover dude. That was that dude who was all about women and like money. I was all about flashy and all that. Well, I'm flashy because I know I can get women. Flash, get the women. Yeah, but that's so so one with the other. So he had to give me somebody who's going to keep me from going over the edge because he knew the work he had for me. He knew the purpose that he had for me. He knew the people I needed to reach to bring to him. So without him bringing me in, it wasn't going to happen. So he presented me with the pretty, beautiful, fantabulous package that I got. If I know what was under it, though, if I knew it was under it, I'll probably, but yeah. But yeah, so I totally understand and agree with you. Just to piggyback what you were saying, but
absolutely. And like I said, having a wife, what I understood is, and what I realized is, that's having a life partner. You know, I look at my wife personally, my wife and the church personally, like I don't know what you call that stuff. What's the stuff you call on the highway? That if you go to the left a little bit, you go, then it wakes you up.
Oh, you mean that?
What's that? You know what I'm talking about, right? It's
the lane guards.
It's like, so if you fall asleep and you drifting left or drifting right,
it's
gonna wake you up to it. Hold up. So I look at my wife as that real guard, right? And I look at me and life. I'm driving on the highway, right? Being on the road is the road that God wants me to be on. But sometimes when I stay away from God, I might go to the right a little bit, right? She's that real God that's going to wake me up to be, hold up now. I got to get back on track.
Yeah, right. That's what she is.
Imagine going down the highway and you don't have those to wake you up. And let's just say you start staring at you in your phone or you fell asleep. By that time to wake up, it probably won't be too late. If you wake up, if you don't hit something and die on the spot, God forbid, right? Or if you get in an accident. Sometimes I feel like we all need that God, real God on the side to wake us up whenever we're staring away from God or staring left or going to a path that He don't want us to be on. So for me personally, that's how I look at my wife, right? She keeps me on track. She keeps me on point where I need to be. And if I'm going left a little bit, guess what? She gonna make me realize like, hey, all right now. You need to
Does she be challenging you? Does she
of course,
be challenging
definitely be challenging me. She just gave me a challenge yesterday. Tell me go 3 days without smoking. I
What's
love
that
to
about?
smoke.
What's that about?
Yeah, she said, I tell you what, you go 3 days without smoking, I'm gonna do something for you. I'm like, man, baby, you know I need my reefer. You baby, come on now. That's what helps. You know, you don't need that. You don't need that. Stop saying that. Stop saying that. You don't need that. So she definitely challenged me every day. And literally yesterday, like I said, she gave me a challenge to go 3 days without smoking. I said, I got you. I can do that.
See?
I said, I can do that. You know, so in many different ways, she challenges me, man. And like I said, you need somebody to challenge you. That's the only way you're going to know who you are, what you're made of, what you're capable of. You know, she challenged me from the beginning. You know, with all the terms and conditions that she came with that I understood. So she was a challenge of the rip, you know, but not only that, but like I say, I feel like nothing worth having is easy.
No.
Nothing worth having is easy. And, you know, it wasn't easy, but it was worth it.
Right.
Very much.
That's how I look at it. Marriage is not easy, but it's worth it because it's the way God was made. God made it. God made it that way for us to have a wife, have a partner, to keep each other on track, to stretch each other, push each other. That's just my perspective on it. And I'm still learning. I have a long way to go. God with life and strength that God made me. One day I'll be able to say, you know, me and my wife been married for 30 years, you know, with life and strength and health. So, you know, like I say, yeah, but that's just my perspective on that.
Hey, King.
Yes, sir.
My wife, I wish she'd hit me with the side rails, but she hit me kind of like with a double barrel shotgun. And you know, that don't feel good with them slugs in it like that.
Oh,
you know, she keep me on track. You know, I love her for that because we came from different walks of life. You know, she kind of had a single parent. I had two parents. And, you know, I was more the country and she was more the city. And I met her at rehearsal. And God is intentional and He has a sense of humor because, you know, I'm from the country, she from the city. You know, we got different values. But I met her at the church at a rehearsal that I was playing at. And, you know, I still think it's funny now. My niece is who kind of put us together, and God He was intentional, and now we've been together over 30 years. But like I said, it hadn't been easy, and we're still working on it. You know, it's that process. You know, you don't never get to the point I've arrived, but you get to the point where you say, you know, God is with me. He's given us some grace and mercy. Yes. So I'm on this journey, and I'm riding pretty good. So I'm gonna stay on this journey I'm on because God is blessing me. You know, He's got both of us in the ministry, and we're just riding this journey in grace.
Well, I'm gonna say this one last thing. I feel though that if you have arrived, what the God still needs you there for?
Oh, right there. Drop the bomb.
And I just feel though that's why we're never going to arrive. We're always going to be continually growing because we're always going to continue teaching someone. We're going to continually showing someone. We're going to continually pouring out into someone else until when He's done with us is when we arrive.
Wow.
He's like, I don't need you there no more. Come on home.
That's true. I can't say nothing on that. You're right. When you're right, you're right, brother. When you're right, you're right.
This has been good. I have to do a Man Cave Sunday again. y'all have set the standard. We may have to do a part 2.
Yep.
So
let's do it.
Before we end, because we went over the hour, but I have a question for all three of you. All of you are men of Strong Tower. All of you are married. So let me ask this question. Prior to marriage, how hard, if it was, for you to be disciplined before marriage? And let me tell you why I asked this question. because, like I said, I'm a woman of God, and I am waiting patiently, abstaining. So people ask me the question, well, what you waiting on? Because I'm not going to be out here living recklessly. So how important was it for you guys to put a ring on it? And how was it difficult to be disciplined?
Well, first, I'm gonna say, because my wife here, I'm gonna have to get this in and out before she slapped me side the forehead. Okay. Well, first, we were both living in streets. We was for the streets. I was for the streets. No. No, she wasn't. I was for the streets. And she helped. We just made a decision. We made a conscious decision. We talked to each other. We talked about God, and we made a conscious decision that we need to be married. We went to the job. We went to counseling, just so we had the same pay, because we both were previously married, and we just didn't want to make the same mistake again. We didn't want to get into marriage for the people, but not for the right thing. You ain't getting into marriage for the right thing. You just jumping in because you just want to be married. That's not actually how it works. It works with we both decided to let God take the wheel. We were at the point where I ain't doing it right. I tried it. It ain't working out. I ain't doing it right. God, you need to take over because I suck. So it got to that point, and we were just like, it wasn't easy. You see my wife? You see how beautiful she is? Could you imagine? Trying to get away from that. But it wasn't easy. But when we made the decision, we really tried to focus on it and made it work, because we knew being married for what the future that we wanted, being married and our kids and everything else, we just had to just make the decision. Now, like I said, we didn't rush into it because we both were previously married, but we still had to know it was things we're going to have to give up and sacrifice to make it work. That's just my little short take.
That's good.
Mine will be short too, Tom. Because I know my wife is gonna be on here, so I'm gonna be very choiceful and be very
choice with the words, sir.
Yes, and I'm gonna rub my beard like I'm very intelligent. Well, in my experience of my marriage, it had been a road of rockiness, and I knew I was sinning because we were living together. And my mom being a minister, I knew that was not going to work. And I said, I'm living here in this apartment, and we can't live like this. This is not going to work, because not only are we sinning, and God is there, but, I'm representing my mother too, because I'm still in the house. I'm in the house with my mom, and then coming back to the apartment, like, just living a double life. And I knew it was wrong, because I had been taught, this is not it. So I said, you know what? If I can do this and sin and do all this, and I'm still, taking care of my wife now like I was when she was my girlfriend then, I said, I might as well marry this woman, because we've been together, and I know God have ordained it, because I wanted a wife. I just had to make up and get that mindset right.
I just wanted to pay one rent. I just wanted to pay one rent. That was my. I was tired of paying two rents. I just wanted one rent.
But when I made up in my mind, and I made the conscious decision, like you said, Tom, God started blessing me and just blessing our marriage, and He just continuously been blessing it, and like I said, it hadn't been easy, but at the same time, it's a work in progress, and He's taking us from level to level to level to level, and He's showing us a lot, and I'm enjoying the journey. So
awesome.
That's me.
Awesome.
So for me, Tori, if you don't mind, just so I don't give the wrong answer, do you mind repeating the question for me one more time, please?
The question for me was when you, because all of you guys are married,
right?
What made the conscious to get married, and how was the discipline? How was it being disciplined? Because for me, I'm not married and I'm making the choice to abstain, and people ask me, what are you waiting on? Why are you waiting? Because I don't want to be out here living recklessly, being with this person and that person. I want to say to myself, like, why are you waiting? Why are you holding out? So my question is basically, how hard was it to be disciplined, and why was it important for you to get married to the woman that you married?
Okay, that's all right. That's a great question. How hard was it for me to be disciplined with my wife? Very hard. First of all, I never feel like I never had to wait for when it comes to sex or anything like that, right? But when I met my wife, she was already abstaining 3 years in. To me, I was like, ain't no way, you know? I'm like, ain't no way. What are you talking about? And she caught me off guard because when we first started talking, it was cool, but then she was like, sex before marriage now. I'm like, okay, but she thought my attitude was gonna change. You see, what she didn't know is probably about a week before I met her, I spoke to God and I asked God to send her. I said, God, whatever it is, man, I need me a smart, beautiful wife, a woman of God, a woman of God. And I saw her, she walked in to come take pictures. I looked at her, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm trying to keep it professional. I'm trying to keep it professional. Long story short, got her number, start, getting to know her more. It was more so that knowing knowing that fornication is wrong and knowing, right from wrong, it was more of like, okay, if I wait, it's going to be worth it. If I wait, it's going to be worth it because, when you're married with someone, you're married for life. It's not, okay, we here this week, next week, ain't no telling what's going to happen. No, so sex is always going to be there once you're married to someone. That's someone you can always, that's the only one person you're going to have sex with for the rest of your life. So in my mind, it was definitely hard because I'm human, and me never dealing with somebody with her type of background, her type of mindset, especially this generation. Me personally, before I met my wife, I never thought I would meet somebody that's going to make me say I want to get married, first of all, because I never really met a woman of God. No disrespect to anybody I met before in the past. I know y'all know God or know of God, but my wife know God. So for me, like I said, me meeting her after I spoke to God and knowing the standard that she held for herself, I know I can do the work. But if anybody got to come after me, they got to have to work 3 times harder, 10 times harder. I know they ain't going to go through that because I don't almost broke a few times. I'm like, you know what, this ain't, but I'm to tell myself, it's worth it. It's worth it at the end of the day. And it wasn't easy, but like I say, it was worth it being disciplined. Trying to be disciplined because I was disciplined. We were disciplined for a certain amount of time, and but yeah.
That's good. These are good answers. I don't know what happened to Minister Rod. He dropped off, but the other thing.
TT done caught up when I said, you said what?
Well, I want to ask you both, what are some of your final thoughts? We wrapping up. What are some of your final thoughts that everybody that's listening and watching, what are some of your final thoughts you want to share? Whatever God places on your heart to share your final thoughts before we wrap it up.
Man, I'm going to go ahead and go, and I'm going to let Mr. Tom have it. I just want to let anybody out here know, man, personally, like I said, my main goal in life, like I say, is to let people know that God is real. I heard his voice. That's a fact. He is real. And, like I say, we're living in the end of times right now. A lot of things crazy. A lot of stuff is going on right now that's crazy in the world that we don't really pay attention to because we're busy on social media or busy on, the watching the next viral video. So it's hard to know actually what's really going on in the world. But literally, we're in the end of times and God is real. And y'all need to know God, but not just know of God. That's it. How do you know God? By having a relationship with him, talking to him every day, talking to him like you talk to your wife, like you talk to your best friend. Don't wait for him to get your attention, but pay attention and, get his attention. So
that's good.
My final thought is, I want to piggyback what he said is, get to know God. Let him in your life. Talk to him. he has a lot to say to you and a lot to tell you about yourself. He'll teach you about how you actually are, not what you think you are, what you actually are. This way you help shut those other people out who tell you who you are, instead of listening to what he told you who you are. Yeah, and that's what, because hey, Mr. Burton.
Yes, sir.
I've been wanting to talk to you since I seen you in church. I don't know why I was always attracted to you, but I really wanted to talk to you and hear your story and talk to you, because I love talking to young people.
Yes, sir.
Just to hear the different perspective, and I'm so glad you was on this podcast.
And I appreciate y'all for having me. Honestly, like I say, I never really been on a podcast with people who are older than me. I consider y'all, my elders. I definitely respect my elders first and foremost. One thing. I always taught growing up, and I will always be a sponge and absorb. That's it. That's no matter where I'm at, I'm absorbing. I'm always locked in. No matter who's talking, I'm locked in because I'm absorbing everything. So I appreciate y'all for having me. Like I say, I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a reason, and I definitely appreciate the opportunity. Tori, Dick, and Rod, you reaching out to me and setting this up. It definitely was, last minute, but that's how it works. You don't have to plan. You don't gotta be planned, and when it's not planned, that's how it come out the best anyway.
Yeah.
So, I definitely appreciate y'all. And next week, man, like I said, if y'all want to do another one next week, we can. But you said something a while ago. I feel like should be the topic for next week, Mr. Washington. You said, what is it? You said something about who we are, who we think we are.
Yeah.
I would say, who we think we are versus who God made us to be. Because we can think we one thing versus who God actually our real calling.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I think I was something that I wasn't. And I wasn't being the man God wanted me to be. So hopefully I'm trying to be the man God wanted me to be, doing the right thing, which is sharing his word and letting people know that he's real.
Yeah.
That's good.
Amen.
That's really good. And Minister Rod, before you dropped off, I asked the question, what are your final thoughts before we end? What are your final thoughts?
Well, man,
whatever God places on your heart to say.
I just want to say, look, we know you keep the thing off because TT Pop bust you the back of your head. It's all right. We know you bad.
Put my business out there. You put my business out there.
Yo, no comment.
But my final thoughts is this, that we look in the mirror every day and we try to do little things to make that person better, and we keep doing that by letting God continually work on us. And like Michael Jackson's song said, you got to make a change for yourself, and once you do the change in you, then the God in you will show up, and then everybody else will see that, and then that spirit is contagious, so it'll just keep going and going. And then it'll spread like it needs to spread on this earth, and God be glorified.
Amen. He's to get all the glory.
Yes,
all the glory.
Absolutely. This was really good. We have got to do.
Miss Tori.
We may have to do a
fabulous.
This may have to be a series. This was really, really good.
Yes, I
had a good time.
That me too. I definitely did.
This is awesome. And let me say this to you, Khasim, while we're live. I want to say to you, pray to God and seek for guidance. I think that you need to start your podcast. You need to start it back. I don't know what God has in store for you, but you got a lot to say. So I think you need to start your podcast back. Just seek God for guidance. But I really think you need to start even if you just do audio for the time being, because there's so many outlets that you can just do the audio. Because I'm actually audio as well, so you can start out with audio and get to this. I mean, it's nothing like what I'm doing now. Virtual is easy. It's just a flick of a button. Just like I sent you guys the links, it's easy. So I'm going to challenge you to start your podcast.
I think so, Miss.
All right.
Look, I'll be a guest, sir. Hey, I love you.
I will too.
Your energy.
All right.
I love you, man.
I love y'all too. Yes, sir.
I mean, because he was so hot. Yeah, this is Khasim.
Yeah. And he got me all hype, and I was like, whoa, I'm tired now.
The energy is real, man.
That was good. It was hype. Got me hyped too. I'm like,
Yeah. He done set the
listen, got me
level.
got me a reevaluate my whole life. Like, wait a minute, I gotta go more hype.
Yeah,
Like, what am I doing wrong? Hold up.
yeah.
You know, passion. That's all it is, man. Passion. You
That's what
know,
I'm talking
it's
about.
loving what you do and
Hey,
doing
and when
what
your
you
passion
love.
matches your purpose, when passion matches your purpose,
Ooh.
that's what you see. When your passion matches your purpose, and you can't let it die.
You can't.
Don't let it die.
Because and again, like I said, you're right, Tori. I do have to get my podcast back up because that's the main reason why, like I said, I had resigned from my previous job, to go all in on my podcast. So for me, the 15-year-old boy got in the way, that 15-year-old boy got in the way and allowed me to lose everything, and I cannot allow that again. So definitely getting back right, with God first, me reevaluating myself as a man, and I think this time, I won't have to worry about anything because the only team I don't need is God, to be honest. So.
Absolutely.
Well, I gotta leave. I gotta go pick the baby up from work.
Yes, sir.
Love you guys. I enjoyed it.
Yes, sir.
Check y'all later. Yeah, hit me up anytime. No problem.
All right, thank you.
Bye, guys.
All right, appreciate y'all.
And guys, we're actually going to end the podcast. But as I always end the podcast at the end, and you guys, Mr. Rod and Khasim, I want y'all to hang on a second when we sign off. Hang on just a second. But thank you guys for watching the podcast. Make sure you share the podcast. If you missed the beginning, make sure you hit that replay button. And like I do at every podcast I have, I always tell people, whatever you go through in this thing called life, there's going to be many obstacles that may come your way. You may bend, but don't you dare break. And always remember to keep the faith. And we out. You guys have a great evening. Enjoy the remainder of your Sunday. Peace out.
Yes, sir. We out.